Okay, well, I'm here today with Dr. Jeremy Goodman. He's the president and CEO of the Pittsburgh Zoo and Aquarium. Jeremy, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So I always love getting started hearing a little bit about your background. So if you could just take a quick minute and kind of let us know what got you to where you are right now.
Sure. I've always loved zoos and animals, and ever since I was a little kid, all I ever wanted to do was run a zoo. And now I'm living the dream. Went to college as an animal science major in veterinary school, and then was lucky enough to get my first big break in Indiana and a smaller zoo there in South Bend, and then moved to Turtleback Zoo, where I was able to get national accreditation there and really develop a great business model to turn that facility around, and moved up to an incredibly historic zoo in Roger Williams Park Zoo, one of the third oldest in the country. And now I'm here at the Pittsburgh Zoo and PPG Aquarium, and excited about the possibilities here.
That's outstanding. Well, it's great that you got into an industry and you just continue to choose to grow with it. That's absolutely wonderful. I know that when we were talking prior to this, one of the things that I was very interested in is, kind of what happens to zoos during COVID. So maybe tell us a little bit about what that time was like for, I know you weren't at Pittsburgh at that point, but kind of what that experience was like for you and how you've kind of come out of that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was scary for everybody, and I think that it was probably the highlight of my career so far is managing through that and successfully navigating through it and coming out stronger, quite honestly. Obviously, there was a lot of unknowns. We didn't know how long we were going to be shut down for. We didn't know if our animals could catch COVID. We didn't know so many different things that we didn't know, and the zoo, we could, unlike a museum or a cultural attraction, a theater, we couldn't just close down and lay everybody off. You can't lay the animals off. The people who take care of them are critical. Our life support systems all have to be maintained. So really, there wasn't a lot that we could cut back as far as costs, but yet we had no revenue coming in. So it was really, really difficult, but we all pulled together. One of the great things about working in a zoo is we really preach family, and we all stuck together, and we knew that there was got to be sacrifice across the board, but we got through it. But we're still living it right now, quite honestly. Even though things are better, since we're an outside zoo, we bounce back very nicely because people want to do outdoor types of things, but now we're realizing that some of our animals actually can catch COVID, and we've had a couple of positive lions before. Now we're dealing with some positive tigers that aren't feeling so great. So it's been a challenge. It's been a constant learning process, but like I said, it's something that I think is really going to make us stronger as an institution coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I live right down the street from a zoo, and it didn't even occur to me, all of the additional costs that would be incurred during COVID, and then of course, to find out that animals are impacted as well. It's definitely throws a curve into it. So I mean, you and your team, I'm sure, had to be creative every single day and kind of really lean into what the solutions are going to be moving forward more than kind of what the problems are. It sounds like.
Yeah, creativity came into play on so many different levels. We had to create a safe workplace because people couldn't work from home here. Some departments could, but most actually had to be on ground. So creating a safe environment for the staff, getting the not having overlapping shifts and changing hours around, longer days. Alternating days, and just trying to figure out exactly what would work to just keep everything going, and where our animals would not suffer, where we did not want to decrease welfare ever. So even though the resources weren't there, we're still committed to all of our animals. So there was a lot in play, and just trying to find new sources of revenue, I think, were one of the other big challenges for us. And we got pretty creative seeking some additional funding.
Well, I can only imagine the obviously what went into trying to get that additional funding, even source the additional funding had to have been, incredible. If you look today, what does your employment world look like? I mean, obviously you've got some very specialized positions, but then kind of like everybody else, you've got the greeters, you've got the people out front, you've got the restaurants, the food service, you've got a lot to contend with. What does that look like for you right now?
Yeah, we're no different from anybody else. We are really being challenged by the labor shortage in this country, and it definitely is a big challenge. We've tried a number of different tactics to recruit employees, and right now, one of the things that we really are pushing is that as a mission-driven organization, working here, when you go home at the end of the day, you've contributed towards a good cause. And I think for a lot of people, that's still very important. Some people, chase the dollar, and unfortunately, as a not-for-profit, we can't always compete with some of those larger corporations that are paying these large sign-on bonuses and whatnot. But we have a lot of benefits here working at the zoo. It's a fun place to work. It's a fun place to be. You have animals all around you. It's like I said, you're helping save wild animals in wild places, and we're offering certain perks as far as special behind-the-scenes animal encounters that someone like a cashier or a ticket taker might not ever have that opportunity. So we're kind of leveraging some of our unique assets to try to recruit. I think it's working to a certain extent.
Okay. I mean, that's outstanding because, a lot of people have just gone with I'm just going to try to pay more until somebody walks through the door, or, maybe I can give a sign-on bonus, or, and people are kind of stuck in that mentality that they can win the arms race. What I've seen personally is you can't. There's always going to be somebody who pays more, who has a different, a benefits package maybe you can't compete with. However, I love what you're talking about here as far as, having experiences and having encounters, being able to offer, mission-driven uniqueness, I think is absolutely outstanding. When you talk about the creativity you used, to get through COVID, and then, obviously the creativity you're putting into your establishment right now, what kind of creative things are you doing to try to make that mission come alive, at your zoo?
Yeah, right now we're in the process of strategic planning and really trying to look at all aspects of our institution. Um, I think it all starts with staff training, quite honestly. And fortunately, people who work in zoos tend to be very, very passionate about the mission. Sometimes the challenge is, how do we transmit that passion towards our guests, our clientele, and get them to start really caring and changing their behaviors to help better the environment in the world. So it's I'd say, our first and foremost is probably staff training on how we can better interact with our guests, meet them at their level. A lot of times our staff, incredibly knowledgeable, they all have degrees and whatnot, and they're talking up here, and the guest might be not quite there yet, and just meeting people at their level, and helping get them excited about our mission as well. And unfortunately, I don't like to look at animals like this, but we do have a great product. Zoos are we're conservation organizations, so we take great care of our animals, but our animals do definitely draw people in, and I'd say that the animals are the draw, and then while they're here, the goal is to educate them on the mission. Nobody really usually comes to the zoo to just strictly learn. Most people come to have a good time. So obviously, there's nothing wrong with people having a good time while they're here, but there has to be that higher purpose, and that's really the education and the connecting people to wildlife, and giving them the tools so that they can help make a difference.
Outstanding. Now you talked about connectivity. So, during the pandemic, and I mean, still obviously right now, you've had to pivot a number of times. So I think you were telling me, about some of the shows you've done, also some of the virtual education that your organization is now providing. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, wherever there was money to be found, we had to really look under every rock and explore every kind of grant and state funding. And obviously, I mean, things like the PPP loans were a godsend and really, helped us survive. But as a zoo, when I was in Providence, for example, we saw that there was going to be a large arts and culture grant that was really more designed for theaters and institutions like that. But we got creative, and we knew, being an outdoor facility, we could do a drive-through. We put a drive-through show together that the state fully funded, which was great. And it wasn't just about us. We looked to give back to the community as well, because we're very community focused. So you know the state helped us with the grants, which we were able to then capitalize on that and have a very successful show that brought in additional revenue that really helped us to survive. But we partnered with our local hotels who were really hurting as well, and developed packages where we gave them free tickets to help make event type packages, which helped draw a few people in, at least, to come and spend the night at their hotels. So I mean, obviously travel was really limited, but we tried to really do the best we can to not only find ways to help ourselves, but to help our community during that time as well. And I think that was really important, that our community was there for us. They continued to support us, and donations were pouring in, but also we didn't forget about our community. And I think it was really, really important for us to try to put these events and shows on, because it gave the community a little sense of normalcy. And even though it wasn't a typical stroll through the zoo, it was something to do with their families on the holidays when everything else was shut down. So that kind of creativity, the virtual programming, I think, a lot of people had to go from in-person to virtual programming, which is exactly what our education departments all did. But now, as we transition back to in-person, we've developed this whole new platform, which we might not be emphasizing, but is still there as an additional revenue source. And as a matter of fact, here in Pittsburgh, our education department has now reached out and done virtual programming in 48 states. We're trying to get those last 2 states before the end of the year, but that's something we never would have thought about pre-pandemic as far as an option for us. So it forced us to get creative in that nature, and now we have a much larger reach than the general greater Pittsburgh area. We can really reach around the world with our programming now.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. So, we keep talking about creativity. So, what kind of things can you do, or do you do, or your leadership team does, to try to bring out some of that creativity with the team that works with you?
Yeah, I think it's emboldening people to throw out ideas, to not be afraid to fail, to try new things. We all know not everything's going to work. And that's fine. But you have to be accepting of that. And you can't have a culture where, every single thing has to succeed, because that's not a very creative culture. That's kind of a very risk averse, culture where it doesn't really kick in with the creative juices. So it's really about empowering your staff, about thinking outside the box, about looking at not only your own industry, but other industries. What can I learn from, hospitals? What can I learn from amusement parks? What can I learn from, what the schools are doing, what the national parks are doing? So it really takes a lot in being willing to change, and not only change, but change on the dime. And that was something that can be scary. but it's something that I think being that nimble and being able to come up with new ideas and be willing to give it a shot. Once again, not doing anything reckless as far as financially or things like that, but testing different things and seeing what sticks and going from there. So it really starts, I think, with the culture of your staff and them understanding that from the top down, that we encourage creativity. And if you have a good idea, share it. 9 out of 10 ideas probably aren't going to work, but we're looking for that 1 out of 10, and you just never know until you try. So it's I think that's probably been one of the most the biggest reason probably for some of the success that we've had with remaining very creative.
Well, I think that that sentiment has been out there, right? Which is, you're no longer just employees; you're actually part of our success, right? And so, organizations who are successful right now are listening to everybody. They're taking feedback in, and I love that. Not afraid to fail mentality, right? You give me an idea, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, give me another one. Give me 2 more. Give me 3 more. Right? We're going to keep trying it. And I think sometimes that ability, especially as you put it, right, a mission driven organization, you want people to be passionate about what you're doing, and you want people to be able to feed you those ideas because they are passionate, not because they want a new soda machine in the break room, but because they have actual feedback on what they think can be exceptional for your organization or really move the needle.
Right. And I've told all my staff that, I've been in this business for quite some time now. And, I've seen what works, what doesn't work and whatnot. And I have lots of ideas and thoughts. But the reason I have a staff is not to say yes to me. It's to, make my ideas better or challenge my ideas if they don't think that they're accurate or correct. So it's once again, emboldening your staff to not view management as the be all end all, but to listen, to have those conversations, and to not be afraid to tell the CEO, listen, I think you're on the wrong track on this one, and I think this might be a better way to go. And when you have that kind of environments where people are comfortable saying that, the cream rises to the top, and they might be right, they might be wrong, but you never know until you have that conversation.
Well, and I kind of dip back to my notes here from when we were talking before, because I feel like what you're doing right now with the way that you're enlivening the mission kind of leads back to something you said before, which is we kind of have to change the narrative right now. We kind of have to change the story about our organization to be able to attract people. So how are you changing that story, or how are you changing that narrative right now?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that we're working on is community ownership. That the zoo has always been a very popular place here. People love the zoo, they frequent the zoo, but do they have a sense of ownership where they really feel it's theirs, they have a stake in it, it belongs to them? So that's really what we're trying to foster right now, is that sense of ownership, because I think once you have that sense of ownership in the community, everything else falls into place. Your attendance will be great, which means your revenue will be good, you'll build your donor base and whatnot. So it's I think that's really our biggest strategy right now. And it's true, we're here for the community. So it's not just like we're telling them you should be invested in it. They really should be, and they should really be buying into the mission, because one of the things we try to explain to people is we have a great mission-driven organization. We do incredible things around the world and support all sorts of conservation projects, but we can only do so much, and we really need their help to move things forward and to move that needle. So unfortunately, a lot of people think that a lot of these huge problems, climate change and things like that, are only problems that governments or large corporations can solve. But we need to kind of change that mindset and make everybody feel like they have a stake in the game. So it's something that we're working really hard on, both for our mission as well as our institution, that people feel like they have a stake in the game and that they feel ownership of it. And I think, if we can do that successfully, we'll be very successful moving forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as we're starting to close this up a little bit, one of the things that I always like to do is, we talk to a lot of our guests, and they're very seasoned and experienced, have been doing this for a while. And as a hospitality industry, we are definitely rebuilding. And so, what I always like to do is see if I can't get a piece of leadership advice from people who have been there to be able to give to somebody who is just starting out as a leader in our industry or thinking about being a leader in our industry. What kind of advice would you give to somebody in that position?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's certain basics that translate across all industries, and certainly customer service is one of them. And investing in your employees, we getting back to what we were speaking about earlier, how difficult it is to find employees. Well, you know what? You better be able to keep your employees then. So, and treating them well and listening to them, and once again, can't always pay the best, but making them feel valued, and really putting effort into professionally developing them, and doing everything you can to keep them is, I think, something that often doesn't get accomplished as well as it should be. And that's something that I would definitely recommend leaders really get to know their staff, and understand things from a frontline perspective as well. I think that'll help resolve a lot of problems and give a much better understanding for how to tackle things at a much higher leadership level, when you understand some of the frontline challenges as well. It's not just a matter of, oh, I've got to make budget or I've got to make this. If the people up front don't have the right resources to do their job, then that's where it all starts. So I think just really paying attention to them is something that I would definitely advise all up and coming leaders, that it's really, really important.
That is outstanding advice. I think that taking care of your team once you have them, it obviously is timeless, and is now more relevant than ever. When just getting somebody to come through the door is such a challenging thing right now. So that's phenomenal advice, Jeffrey. I really appreciate that. Well, I want to thank you for your time today, and I look forward to hopefully connecting with you again in the future.